Greetings and salutations, ladies and gents of the gaming sphere. Welcome to UnicornStorm. This is Rady, and today I have this crackin' new mod for Fallout 4 with me. Let's take a look at Fallout London. This mod is massive. It's a full-blown game on its own. It's in fact as big in file size as the base game of Fallout 4 itself, which you need to have installed as well to play this mod. And as far as I know, it has to be the Game of the Year edition, or maybe you just need to have all the major expansions. I'm not entirely sure. I just got the Game of the Year edition for like 10 euros on GOG, and I also got the mod officially on GOG for free. From what I've heard, GOG was involved in getting this mod to run on different PC versions. It seems it doesn't run with the Epic Game Store version, but it should work with the Steam version. As you'd expect, the mod takes place in London. It's a completely new campaign for Fallout 4. You create a new character and you follow unique questlines, all set in London. And it's just glorious. You start the game as a human lab rat inside a test tube. When the lab gets attacked, it's your chance to escape, and on the way out, you stumble upon your most important piece of equipment. The GOG shirt and pants. Nah, I mean this game's version of the Pip-Boy, of course. And because this game takes place in London, in a location so far removed from any other the previous games took place in, the team had a bit of fun and imagined all kinds of changes or different developments. I mean, of course London had different things going on than the US. Vault-Tec never really established a foothold in Britain, so there's no Pip-Boy and no vaults. Their technology still got researched in the UK, but the results from that led to the construction of the Attaboy, a belt-mounted, more efficient and overall superior version of the Pip-Boy, that you wear like a fanny pack. Instead of excavating large areas and building vaults all over the country, in London, the underground stations had been modified to serve as bomb shelters. And the mod doesn't stop with this. So much more has been Britified. The Vault Boy logo becomes the Protect and Survive family. Raiders are hooligans. Instead of bobbleheads, you collect beer coasters. Instead of dog meat, you adopt Best Boy Churchill, an English bulldog, and he might be the reason for why this mod would never be part of Bethesda's official creation club. All the food items are so very British, and of course you get to swing around a cricket bat. Yeah, boy! The graphical and design overhauls don't stop here though. The game sports an incredible enemy variety. Many critters return from the base game, and their ranks are bolstered with new insects like leeches or ladybirds, animals like foxes or even mythical beasts. Some of the classic robots are back, but here as well the Brits have developed their own little toys, with walking naval mines or freaking post boxes out for blood. And even the human enemies got diversified. Hooligans share the most similarities with the Raiders, visually, but they always seem to carry a Molotov cocktail with them and are not afraid to use it. Beef Eaters are skilled melee fighters and block most of your attacks. Jackdaws are Navy themed and mix up ranged and close quarter combat in a rather tactical fashion. Garderers travel in packs and use improvised weapons, but both them and the Scavengers only attack if you get too close. Now looking at the scope of this project, with all its fresh new visuals, with its massive game world, with all the nifty little details and all the variety, you have to keep in mind that this is an indie game, and with it, there come some caveats. I guess the most notable issue would be the voice acting. It can be pretty good at times.
Listen up, lads. I've called us together for a reason.
But more often than not it is rubbish, and can become a bit grating on the ears.
What? That's not possible.
It's understandable. Most of the resources had to flow into the graphics and game design. The programming, the level design and the writing are all much more important than the actual voice lines. I haven't looked into it, but my guess is that not all of the people who lend their voices to the characters are professional and or experienced voice actors. I won't hold it against the game, but it is noticeable. The game's also riddled with bugs and glitches. It's a bloody mess. Flickering textures, inconsistent collision, sound cutting out or being weirdly loud or quiet, enemies sinking into the ground, random crashes, for some people constant random crashes, though installing the Buffout 4 patch seems to fix the problem. Interactions just not working, and the thing that annoys me the most, the game not recognizing your inputs. It happened really often to me that when I tried to use my weapon, the game only recognized my input on the second or sometimes even third attempt. It hasn't been game breaking so far, but it did lead me to taking a lot of avoidable damage. Some people even say that this mod rivals Bethesda with the amount of bugs and glitches, and to that I say, well duh. But we have to put this into perspective. Bethesda is a major publisher and game developer with huge ass teams and massive budgets who sell you their broken, messy and incomplete games for $60. Fallout London is a free mod created by passionate enthusiasts during, I guess, in great parts their spare time. Yeah, they got donations and had quite a few supporters, and I guess some of the creators worked on this as their main job, but still. It's just not fair or reasonable to hold them to the same standards as a major game studio who released these kinds of games since the 90s. The amount of bugs and glitches in a full-blown Bethesda release is what I'd expect from an indie game or mod. And don't get me wrong, I'm not excusing broken mechanics, game-breaking or progression-halting issues or other technical problems. I hope that some, maybe even all of the issues are gonna get fixed. But from where I stand, I'd rather have a unique creative experience where the dev took some risks, that lacks some polish here and there, than a sterile and safe experience, which's only accomplishment is that it runs well. Isn't that the whole reason why Euro or Slav or whatever jank games are so fondly looked upon, even though they run like shit at times? Isn't that what people say about AA games? They were made with a lower budget, they don't have as much polish as AAA games, they might have some noticeable bugs and glitches, but they all offer a unique experience that you just don't get from the big releases. Not that AAA means anything more than giant marketing budget these days, certainly not polish. And while I tend to agree with this stance, I wouldn't mind having less jank in my game. A unique creative experience without jank is better than one with a lot of jank. That was my whole issue with the Alone in the Dark remake. I adore that game, but so much of it pisses me off. And it mostly comes down to, well, jank. Mechanics not working as intended, graphical glitches, performance issues, stuff like that. And all the big critics excuse that by stating that the game had a lower budget. Well, it was still sold for a premium price. Outside of special discounts, it's still 60 euros in Germany, which is standard, well, for the time being the standard, for AAA games. They also hired movie stars for their voice acting, so they wasted a ton of money on celebrities instead of putting it into the game to iron out some of the issues. You can't defend a game by stating its lower budget when a large chunk of it went to something completely unnecessary. So, and to get to the point, I'm not a fan of all the technical issues with Fallout London, but I can look past them and enjoy this highly creative game the team created. A game so much more intriguing and exhilarating and goddamn enjoyable than the actual Fallout 4, which is also riddled with problems. I'd go even so far and say that I expect a company like Bethesda, with all their budget, to create a game with the depth and variety of this mod and release it without any noticeable bugs and glitches. That should be the standard. So yeah, the team did good. Don't demand from them what you didn't from major publishers who took your money. And the game offers so much. London is such a great game world, and they didn't just haphazardly drop some destroyed buildings over a street plan of London and plopping a handful of landmarks down. The London in this game is an intricate labyrinth, a meticulously designed playground for you to explore and progress through. Setting this game in a city and not the English countryside with maybe a small part of a bombed out London was such a great idea. As much as I like the Capital Wasteland or the Mojave Desert, There was little build up to approaching any location. Yeah, sometimes a landmark came slowly into view in the distance and that built anticipation, but Wind Waker did the same thing and the Great Sea was still empty and boring. In the other 3D Fallout games, you can just walk anywhere at any time, which I guess is the point of an open world game. But in Fallout London, the exploration and discovery of new places feels so much more deliberate, since you can't just waltz over to any spot on the map. There are natural barriers everywhere, rubble from bombed out buildings, flooded streets that only offer you a quick radiation death, destroyed bridges, and you have to navigate around all these blockades and the roaming enemies. The game also plays around a lot with doors locked from one side, kinda like a Metroid or Zelda-like, or the good old Resident Evil series. It's full of open-ended exploration, but not limitless, and these limitations give the exploration a lot more depth, and it guides the player rather organically through the increasingly difficult campaign. Not that the balancing isn't all over the place. Holy shit, some enemies wreck my shit while the more powerful variants crumble to dust under one or two of my attacks. And whoever thought that having certain robots be immune to all damage except for special randomly dropped anti-robot guns can go royally fuck themselves. But oh man, blimey, this virtual London is incredible. It's a meticulous recreation of the actual city of London. I mean, as much as is feasible in a video game, both for the developers as well as the players. A lot of shortcuts had to be taken. It's of course not completely to scale, and not every house of the real-world London has been included in this game. And such a thing shouldn't even be expected. There still went so much detail into this virtual London, from the modern inner city to the more old-fashioned outskirts. It's such a joy to look at. I love all the brick and mortar buildings, the so very British car designs, the pubs as recurring dungeon areas, the lovely English weather. Seeing the bigger and smaller landmarks is amazing to behold, and the whole game world just captured this English feeling, albeit a very romanticized one. At least as far as I, an outsider, can attest to. And they went out of their way to make this post-apocalyptic London feel alive, in a way that's only possible in an independent, fan-created production. First off, there are so many useless rooms in this world. Rooms you make an effort to get to and explore, only to find nothing. Sometimes maybe some common junk items, and other times not even that. There are locked safes and containers in this world that don't contain anything. There was one door in a small basement area I cleared out that was locked with a too advanced lock for my skill level. So when I came back hours later with a higher lockpick skill and finally opened it, ready to grab some highly deserved valuables, I found nothing but an empty room. It's fucking great. This shit wouldn't fly in a commercial release, and especially not in a high profile or mainstream game. People would complain to no end. How could you waste your players' time so much? When they take the time out of their day to clear out one of your dungeons, there'd better be something worthwhile at the end of it. Well, not in this game, and I very much appreciate it. These places aren't designed for you, the player or the hero or the protagonist. These are places where people lived or worked or died, and they didn't bother serving you their stuff on a platter. There's still lots of looting and treasure hunting going on, but it all feels a bit more natural, dare I even say, more immersive. And then there are such really minor details that accomplish so much, like a supermarket turned into a hooligan hideout. They have some attack dogs with them, so you actually find a lot of dog food near their belongings, and there are even 2 small dog bowls at the back of the store. But also the people inhabiting London do a lot to make the experience more immersive. I already mentioned the different enemy factions, but there's also friendly NPCs. At least until you piss them off. Early on you meet the Vagabonds, which are, I guess, the faction players are expected to ally with on a first playthrough. Cockney type everyman who have their hideout inside a pub, which just wants to make me join them even more. Opposed to them is the Syndicate on the Isle of Dogs, a mafia organization that's completely dog-themed. Daft mugs. So far I haven't seen any super mutants, and I hope it stays that way, because they have no business here in London. Instead, we have the Thames folk, humanoid fish mutants. Well, I guess they're still human mutants, fish-like human mutants. They inhabit the flooded areas of London and appear just a bit too ghoul-like in the way they speak and how floppy their skin looks, at least in bad lighting.
Whether I like it or not, the boy became my responsibility when he...
But I'm glad another mutant faction joined the ever-growing Fallout family. And it distinguishes London even more from the rest of the places we got to see until now. For the peacekeeping, we have militia types, and the coppers are also still around. Bloody pigs. And each faction or variant has their own little quirks, which mostly comes down to their equipment. But we know that already from New Vegas. Music is another thing that shines in this game. It's used a lot more prominently than in the official games. While Fallout never really stayed quiet, and while Genon Zer's original music is really great, I often got the feeling that the dev team at Bethesda's never really knew how to handle his music. The same also goes for Jeremy Soule and the Elder Scrolls games. But here, in this game, the music feels much more deliberate. It's hard to describe, but I felt way more often that the music ramped up or slowed down right when it was needed. And I mean outside of combat encounters. And if you don't want to listen to non-diegetic music, then there's always the radio. With completely new radio stations. I mean, they had to be.
Co-host, Artful Roger. If you're a fan of ours, thank you for your patronage. If you're a brand new listener, welcome.
Which play, of course, licensed music from the 40s and 50s up to the modern times. Many of the songs have been taken directly from the base game, but there are some new ones as well. So you have lots to listen to while you are out there exploring, scavenging, crafting lots of items, and oh man, the crafting feels so much more rewarding in this game. I never cooked so much in another game. Well, maybe Breath of the Wild. And that might be because you aren't flooded with stim packs and the game feels a bit more difficult. I have to heal a lot more after and often during any encounter, and I have to manage my radiation levels a lot more, so I need to cook all my meat I gather from fallen critters as to not overly irradiate myself. It's amazing. Though, maybe I made it harder for myself by choosing the sleepwalk perk during character creation, which causes me to wake up in a random location after sleeping anywhere, which means I can't just sleep on a mattress and heal up and then continue exploring. Most of the mechanics are still Fallout 4, so if you had a problem with that game's special or perk system and the absence of a skill table, well, that problem persists. They did tackle my and many others' biggest problem with Fallout 4 though, the dialogue system. You can still see the remnants of the 4-way dialogue system within your companion commands, but aside from that, conversations now function more like in New Vegas. Though there is some weirdness during dialogues with merchants, where you get 4 different prompts to start trading. And this seems to be the case with any trader. But yeah, they added a lot more complex dialogue options back into the game, and also skill checks during dialogues are back, which I'm very grateful for. The writing is hit and miss. Overall pretty good, the world building is excellent, some real thought went into the factions, where they are stationed, how they behave. There's even some good intrigue going on at times. Some conversations can feel really natural and some others are more gamey but still enjoyable. But then there's some really cringe-worthy shit. I guess it is par for the course in a game that had multiple quest designers and writers for different parts of differing importance. Many quests are completely isolated from one another, which is fine, recommended even. I don't want everything to flow back into the main quest. But with that, you sometimes see massive tonal shifts or things that don't really fit the rest of the game. Some of the notes or messages you find even seem a bit mean-spirited. I'm not claiming that it's 100% the case, but it comes off a bit that way. Stuff like research and marketing notes about a female-looking robot design with a sophisticated personality chip that led to customers swooning over her. And it was written in a really lighthearted and cheeky way, until it ended with a line about finding success with 18-year-olds who never touched a woman. Or a suicide note you find that talks about wanting to be with a woman who doesn't even care for the person, next to a skeleton with a fedora. I don't know, it's in bad taste. A lot of the little notes and emails you read are full of contemporary meme and internet culture, and I get that the enthusiasts who made this game for fun just wanted to have a bit of fun, but I don't think it fits a game world like the one in Fallout. It couldn't really dampen my enjoyment though, at least not for long, because I just had so much fun exploring these incredibly designed dungeons, stores, pubs, libraries and whatnot. Find new equipment or fun collectibles, like the cute Tulu dolls or these police boxes in the weirdest of places. Don't know what's going on with those. Or beer coasters that grant you special perks for some reason, or magazines and comic books, straight out of the other Fallout games. Or even vinyls that you can listen to on gramophones. This world is packed full with detail and it's so immersive you could lose yourself in it. The most fun I had with Fallout in a long time, and, at least to me, vastly superior to the Fallout 4 base game. And it is among the few open world games that I truly and deeply enjoy, not just for the novelty of it. An amazing game and so worth playing. There's no downside to just getting it and trying whether it works with your copy of Fallout 4. Or maybe this year convinced you to get it and a complete version of Fallout 4, so you can just dive straight into it. No matter what you're going to do, I wish you the greatest of days. This has been Rady, and I hope to see you again on the next game.